Okay, working on a Toyota 7FGC U25. So a customer complaint on this one is that it would start and run for about 30 seconds and then would just cut out. So it has a 4Y engine. So let me start it up, show you what's happening with this. Okay, see two issues. We have the error 42 and that's the reason why. See, just cut out right now without me turning it off. So key on again, start again. Okay, so the engine oil light is on. Alright, kill this. So the danger on this is, can we not really build up the oil pressure? But to prove that it is, the problem, so we got, you know what, you open up the oil cover right here, and when we ran this, there was oil going through the galleries and squirting out. So we know that we have oil pressure, but the question is the oil pressure enough? Right? Other than that, it would be an oil pressure switch, which is right. Get a good view at it. Somebody else was working on this before. So the oil pressure switch would be right there. Okay, so let's test this out. I'm gonna run it again. All right. So oil light is on. No, earlier it didn't really take much time. But let me pull that wire. Okay, just cut out on me again. All right. On, and sorry for the glare. Just take this off. Oil light is off. Let me cut this off. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna try to check for the oil pressure. Hook up an oil pressure gauge to that and see what pressure it's at. So now we got our gauge hooked up, right? So it's gonna try to run it and see what pressure we get. Function that gauge. Oh, what do we have? 4 psi. Rev it up a bit. Okay. Yeah, to me that's good. So when I was reading up on it, that should only activate the shutdown to if it was less than 2 psi. So we just confirmed that, yeah, we're getting oil pressure. We see it from opening up the oil cap. We know it's there. The only question was that, are we getting enough pressure? Right? So hooking up the gauge, we know we are. So next step is we test that pressure switch, but it's pretty much 100% at this point, right? So okay, let's look at the circuit for the engine shutdown. So it's composed of relays basically. So one is the low oil pressure, high temperature relay, which is right here. We got the timer relay right here, and of course the shutdown relay, which is right here. So the oil pressure relay and the timer relay are normally open contact relays, but the engine shutdown relay, you can see, uses the normally closed contact. Alright, so let's try to trace it out in order for us to understand how this circuit works. So start up from the battery. So we're gonna trace it out starting from the battery. So we got our positive from the battery, goes to the relay box, to the 40 amp fuse, of course to the key, and then set to ignition would provide the positive to the ignition fuse 7.5, and also to the gauge fuse. So it would provide positive supply to both the low oil pressure light and the overheat light. Take note that this overheat light is not the same circuit for your temperature gauge. This is just the overheat light. So this would only activate, would only light up if you're already encountering an overheat. So positive is also provided to the relay for the timer here, and also provided right here, and of course positive is also provided for the timer itself. And so positive here goes through the engine shutdown relay, which gives positive supply to the igniter and to the ignition coil. Alright, and so the negative now, of course, the battery negative is there. The negative for the oil pressure light, of course, because the oil pressure switch is normally closed. So the oil pressure switch would always be closed until pressure of more than 2 psi is encountered, and it would open up. And so by doing that, we also complete the circuit for that low pressure relay coil. So at key on, because the oil pressure relay here, you have a positive and a negative, so the low oil pressure relay would be energized, and so voltage would go through and just stop there. So because 15 seconds has not elapsed yet, the timer relay contacts are still open. So this is basically the path when you key on and the time elapsed has not reached 15 seconds yet. Alright, and so let's talk about now if the engine cranks, alright, and it started, and now the pressure has reached more than 2 psi. Right, so 15 seconds has elapsed, the oil pressure has reached more than 2 psi. Let's look at what happens then. So if more than 2 psi has been achieved, this opens up, so it doesn't provide a path to the negative anymore, and so the oil light, the low oil pressure light, would be off, but it would also turn off this circuit. So the positive still there, but the negative now is not provided, and so the low oil pressure relay is going to be disengaged. But here's the thing, 15 seconds has already elapsed, and so the timer, because it has a negative, the timer now, which has a negative here, would provide a negative for the timer relay, completing the circuit. Therefore, this would be engaged. So the timer relay would be engaged because 15 seconds has already elapsed. But since the low oil pressure relay is already off, it does not provide the path for the voltage for the engine shutdown relay. So in essence, the low oil pressure relay and the timer relay works as an AND circuit. So what it means is, for the engine shutdown relay to be energized, both the low oil pressure relay and the timer relay has to be engaged. So it cannot be just the timer relay engaged and just the oil pressure light engaged. So if either one of these relays are open, then the engine shutdown relay would not be energized. Okay, so what happens now if, let's say for example, the engine has started, 15 seconds has already elapsed, but oil pressure did not reach more than 2 psi, or in our case, the oil pressure switch is stuck closed. Okay, let's look at that. So if this is closed, so negative will be present, the low oil pressure light would be on, of course, and it would also provide a negative through the diode for our low oil pressure relay. So our contacts here for the low oil pressure relay will be closed, so voltage would be able to go through, alright, up to here. But then again, our timer relay, because 15 seconds has already elapsed, our contacts will be closed, and so voltage would go through here and go through our shutdown relay. And the negative on this one is common, so there's always a negative. It would energize that coil now. So what's gonna happen is voltage will be taken away for the ignition coils, and of course without the ignition the engine would shut down. And this is how this circuit protects the engine. Okay, so now we're gonna address the other problem that they were complaining about, is this error 42 that always shows up, right? And thing is, alright, it's always there. But if you look at the normal code list for this truck, it's not there. Error code 42 is not there. Did a bit more digging, and it turns out that it's in the diagnostic connector here, but I don't think the 7 series uses this because it's empty except for 4 pins, but there is a jumper, right, that should be inserted right here. So let's try to put that in. Okay, that. Put that jumper in. What's that? Key on again. See that? Error code 42 is gone. So if you see an error code 42, it is that jumper being gone, and the computer is detecting that. But it's not related to the performance of the truck. So when this came in, the tech was worried that the error code 42, it was what was the cause of the cutout, and it's not. It's totally 2 different problems. All right, so let's start this up again. Error code 42 is gone. All right. All right. So the only thing left to do on this truck is replace that oil pressure switch, and this one's a fix.